The daughter and her husband's sweetheart's son fell ill and were hospitalized at the same time. The husband gave the only life-saving medicine to his sweetheart's son. My daughter died, and I completely gave up on my husband, leaving a divorce agreement and going to teach in a small mountain village. It rained heavily that day and the mountains shook. I saw my cold husband move away the heavy stones, his hands bloody and deep bones, when I woke up again. I returned to the day when my daughter's life and death were at stake. Gu Tingbei. This time, I will never look back. After the earthquake, heavy rain followed, and the whole world seemed to be shrouded in a rain of despair. I floated in the air and watched as a group of soldiers rushed to the scene. He should be happy when I die, right? I was pressed under the heavy beams, and my consciousness gradually blurred, which was my last thought before I died. The earthquake came unexpectedly, and I only had time to organize the older children to run out. There were also 2 7- or 8-year-old children in the classroom, who were so frightened that they stayed where they were, crying. I turned around and ran back to the classroom, seeing that the beams were about to fall on them, and a flying pounce protected them under me. Bang! The beam hit his back, and a fishy sweetness welled up in his throat, and even his breathing was painful. I am not afraid of death. My daughter is gone. And I have long lived like a walking corpse. I couldn't save my daughter half a year ago, but today I must save these 2 children. I am so happy that I can finally see my daughter. Annan, Mom is looking for you. The consciousness gradually withdrew, and the pain in his body disappeared. When I came back to my senses, I floated in mid-air. A group of soldiers marched forward in the rain, and the silhouette of the leader looked a little familiar. When the group approached, I saw the team leader clearly and was secretly shocked. It's Gu Tingbei. He has a long figure, broad shoulders and a narrow waist, resolute eyebrows, and a righteous body. Unfortunately, Gu Tingbei's shoulders never belonged to me. After the shock, there was an expected relief. Qingyuan County is under the jurisdiction of Gu Tingbei's military region, and it is normal to come to earthquake relief. I don't sentimentally think that he is here for me. The village chief was waiting in the heavy rain in a raincoat, and when he saw Gu Tingbei bringing people over, he immediately greeted him. Commander Gu, Teacher Shen was in class when the earthquake occurred. The child who ran out said that she failed to come out to save the students in the classroom. Head. I raised my eyebrows. I didn't expect that after I left for a year, Gu Tingbei was promoted from battalion commander to regiment commander, the village chief said, pointing to the ruins, his dark face full of guilt and anxiety. Teacher Shen is a good person. She has never looked down on us mud-legged. She is serious in class, she is kind, and the people in the village like her very much. The man's eagle-like eyes scanned a circle of collapsed houses, the brows furrowed slightly, and I actually saw a hint of anxiety on his face. After 6 years of marriage, Gu Tingbei has always had a cold face when facing me, and I must have been dazzled. Masonry, rubble, wooden beams. There are no tools at hand, so you can only move and dig it with your bare hands. Gu Tingbei spared no effort, and his hands were gradually worn by the rough masonry. Wipes of blood spilled out, and then were washed away by the heavy rain. Commander, you go bandage the wound, and we'll do the rest. A soldier saw Gu Tingbei so brutal and couldn't help but come over to persuade him. Gu Tingbei kept moving his hands and refused without raising his head. I'm fine. You ask your brothers to be careful. The soldiers understood Gu Tingbei's character, persuaded him to no avail, and worried about him, so they had to help by his side. After about half an hour, the ruins were finally cleared. The 2 children I protected under me only suffered minor injuries and were taken home by their parents to recuperate. I floated in mid-air and saw my own body. This is also a novel experience. Gu Tingbei was stunned for a moment, and then ran towards me. My body was a little deformed under the weight of the beams, which was really not good looking. He half knelt beside me and hugged me into his arms at a loss. Yun Shu, I'm sorry, I'm late, the man muttered in a daze. Over the past year, I have missed you every day. And I miss the days when our family of 3 was together. I'm sorry. I'm so stupid that I didn't realize my intentions until you left. If I had known that letting you go would separate us from life and death, I would never have agreed to your departure, Gu Tingbei said, his eyes gradually turning red, as if tears welled up, mixed with rain. I can't tell if it's tears or rain. I was shocked. Gu Tingbei actually cried for me. Before I could finish my shock, I heard Ji Tingbei's voice again, full of begging and helplessness. Yun Shu, I love you, please come back. I have lost our daughter and cannot lose you anymore. The man's voice was grief-stricken, like a goose that had lost its partner. It's ridiculous to say, I fell in love with Ji Tingbei at first sight, and later married him and became his virtuous wife for 6 years. I carefully flattered him and prayed for his love, but he was too stingy. He always has a cold face, and he is also alienated and polite to me at home. But he is kind and takes good care of Chini's mother and son, even giving up our children for her children. Today's remorse and love may be true, but the indifference, neglect and favoritism of the past are even more unforgettable to me. Ji Tingbei is still telling me his true feelings and remorse. I closed my eyes in pain. Ji Tingbei, it's too late. In the past, my love was not rare for you, but now I don't want your love either. Our husband and wife are a complete mistake. If we do it again, I won't marry you. I finished talking to myself. Ji Tingbei seemed to be aware of something and looked up at me. Obviously I am a soul now. He should not be able to see me, but his gaze still made my soul tremble. Then it fell into complete darkness. Doctor, how is Yang? Please save my son. The woman's slightly crying voice sounded soft and weak, which made people guess that the owner of the voice must be as weak as a willow in March. Sounds familiar. Who is it? I leaned halfway against the cold wall and shook my head vigorously, and the blurred figure in front of me finally became clear. It's Chini. She fell softly in my husband's arms, crying so hard that it rained. My husband Ji Tingbei hugged her body with a worried face, and looked at her with a good mistake. The smell of disinfectant water coming from the tip of my nose quickly brought my mind back to my mind. Hospital, Chini, Ji Tingbei. A bold idea popped out of my head. I was reborn, back to the day my daughter was seriously ill a year ago. This time, I must save my daughter. While thinking, the doctor's voice sounded again, and the words he said were exactly the same as in his previous life. Comrade Chin, don't worry, we will do our best to treat patients. The doctor paused. His eyes swept over the three of us, and he spoke deliberately. Ju Yang and Ji Yuanan suffered from the same disease, but at present, there is only one medicine hospital for this disease. And it will take 3 hours to send it to our hospital at the earliest. I'm worried that the children won't be able to wait for that time. The doctor's subtext is, medicine is only enough to save a person. They are all 4-year-old children, and their condition is similar. Who do you want to save? When Chini heard this, she was stunned like a bolt from the blue, and tears fell in big drops. It's really a pity for me, brother Ji. It's all my fault. It's me who doesn't live up to it. If I hadn't been in poor health and had been born prematurely when I was pregnant with Yang, how could he have been weak since childhood? And now he has such a disease. Ji Ting's back clenched his fists, and the green veins burst out. I know what he's struggling with. Seeing that Ji Tingbei didn't speak, Chini picked up a handkerchief to wipe away the tear stains from the corners of her eyes, and then made a fierce decision. Poor my Yang lost his father as soon as he was born. If my family Ju Changqing was still there, he would definitely try his best to save Yang. Scold, it's old rhetoric again. The 3 words Ju Changqing are simply Chini's invincible killer here in Ji Tingbei. Ji Tingbei and Ju Changqing are friends of life and death. 4 years ago, the two of them went on a mission together, and Ju Changqing blocked the bullet for Ji Tingbei and died heroically. Chini heard the bad news and was alarmed by the premature birth of fetal gas. Coupled with Ji Tingbei's undeclarable thoughts on Chini, love, distress, guilt, all kinds of feelings are complex and intertwined. Ji Tingbei took good care of Chini's mother and son. The child is sick, the water pipe at home is broken, and one day the child fights with other children in the red class. Big and small things were solved by Ji Tingbei. The compound said that he valued affection and righteousness and had a strong sense of responsibility. Only I know how Ji Tingbei, who values love and righteousness, ignored his wife and daughter. Sure enough, I saw Ji Tingbei's clenched fist quietly let go and took a deep breath, as if he had made a decision. He looked at me. Yun Shu, save Yang first. He has been in poor health since he was a child, and Anen is more lively and healthy than him. And he will definitely be able to survive until the medicine arrives. Anen now looks healthier than Ju Yang, but she was often sick before she was 3 years old. Gu Tingbei ran to Qini's house every day, and I could only take care of Anan alone. Do you think Anan was born with a healthy body? The daughter I worked so hard to raise is not a bargaining chip for you to repay the life-saving grace. The more I thought about it, the more angry I became, and I couldn't help but sneer. Why? Whoever wants to save first has to listen to the doctor. The doctor finally understood the three of them and broke out in a cold sweat. He is a little doctor. And the only man in the audience is the battalion commander in the army, which is a person he can afford to provoke. The middle-aged doctor hesitated, and Qini on the side couldn't help but speak. She started crying again, begging me with a sad face, "Sister Yunshu, please give the medicine to Yang Yang. He was born prematurely and was not in good health and could not afford to wait. My family is patriarchal, and I finally entered the art troupe to marry Zhu Chongqing. But I didn't expect him to go so early. I only have Yang Yang. Sister Yunshu, you are different from me. You are from a good background, and you are married to a promising man like Brother Jiyu, who doesn't envy a family of three." She was immersed in it, and when she talked about her sadness, she came over and tried to take my hand. "Sister Yunshu, just let me and give Yang Yang a chance to live, and En is in good health. She can wait for Qini. Why do you want my daughter to sacrifice for your son?" Snap dash, I charged my right hand and slapped her hard. "It's so cool." I raised my left hand and wanted to slap again, but it was firmly clamped by a big palm. "Don't think of anything else, it's Gu Tingbei." He let go of my hand and turned to comfort Qini. "You just talk. Why do you hit people casually?" I hit her because she should have been beaten. Always dressed as a weak little white flower made Gu Tingbei favor their mother and son without a bottom line. "Brother Gu, I don't care." Qini ignored Gu Tingbei's comfort, and looked at me with tears in her beautiful eyes. "Sister Yunshu, as long as you agree to give the medicine to Yang Yang, you can hit it casually, do whatever you want." As she spoke, she took my hand and hit her in the face. "Enough." Gu Tingbei was furious, stopped Qini's behavior, and looked at me and gave me an ultimatum. "Yunshu, Chongqing has a life-saving grace for me. I can't watch Yang Yang die." He turned to look at the doctor. "Doctor, give the medicine to Zhu Yang, and I will bear all the consequences. What do you take on?" "In my last life, Zhu Yang was cured and discharged from the hospital, and Mayanan died in the underworld. Don't you also live well?" Knowing the result, I had to listen to him say these words masochically. I turned my head to wipe away the raging tears. "Gu Tingbei, I think Zhu Chongqing saved your life. You and he have a deep brotherly relationship, and it is only natural to take care of them more. So in the past, you took care of Qini's mother and son, and I endured it, and I didn't say anything gossip at all. But I didn't expect you to give up your daughter so simply, and An is really unfortunate to have a father like you." Gu Tingbei tried to defend himself. "Yunshu, I didn't want to give up on An. The doctor said that the medicine can be transferred in 3 hours at the earliest, and An will be saved by then. After all, I owe Chongqing a life. Do you owe Zhu Chongqing's life to exchange your daughter's life for his son's?" I stared straight at Gu Tingbei, tears in my eyes, angry and disappointed. "Enough, Gu Tingbei, you owe the Zhu family's life, and you are willing to treat his wife and children as cattle and horses. I have no objection. Since you choose to give up An, then from now on, you are not worthy of being her father. I will save my daughter myself." After saying that, I pushed Gu Tingbei and Qini away and walked quickly to Anan's ward. The little man was lying in the snow-white quilt, and his face was blushing abnormally because he was sick. "My Anan is still here. Last time, I listened to the doctor's words and Gu Tingbei and stayed in the hospital to wait for medicine, but the medicine was delayed and I lost my daughter forever. This time, I must save her." I walked to the bed and picked up Anan. "Mom, I'm so uncomfortable." Anan was awakened by my movements and opened her eyes in a daze. The immature children's voice was like a different world, and the water mist blurred the vision. I blinked my eyes to let the tears slip down, then raised a smiling face and comforted her softly. "Anan is not afraid. My mother is here." My mother took Anan to a big hospital to see a doctor, and Anan will not feel uncomfortable when she is cured. As I spoke, I patted Anan's little body and walked out with her in my arms. As soon as he walked to the door, he bumped into Gu Tingbei. "Where are you going to take Anan?" I looked at him with sarcasm, not wanting to waste any more time with him. "Take Anan to the city hospital to see a doctor." Otherwise will you stay here and wait to die? After saying that, I wanted to bypass Jiu Tingbei and leave, but he stopped me. I scolded him impatiently. A good dog doesn't get in the way. Jiu Tingbei choked, but the dog still couldn't spit out the ivory. If you take your child to the city alone to see a doctor, it is not safe to be unfamiliar with the place. Why don't you? I turned my lips and looked at him playfully. So, Jiu Tingbei, are you going to the city hospital with us? Where is Jiu Tingbei willing to leave Qin Yi alone? How pitiful she is that she has no husband and has to take care of her sick children. Probably didn't expect me to be so straightforward. Jiu Tingbei was speechless for a while, and slowly put down the hand that stopped me. Yun Shu, I remember that one of your grandma's students was working in the city hospital. Why don't you call him and ask him to take care of him? Yi and Yang are really inseparable from people here. The comrades of the logistics team in the regiment are just going to the city, so I'll say hello and ask them to take your mother and daughter to the city hospital. The logistics team in the regiment has tasks to go to the city, and they have to approve at all levels, and the procedures are very troublesome. I can't wait, and Enan can't wait. No need, I'll go find a car myself, just now. Jiu Tingbei asked the doctor to save Ju Yang first, and I was criticized by him for not being worthy of being Enan's father, but at this moment he has a little loving fatherly heart. After all, it is not reasonable, and the words spoken are not enough confidence. Okay, you go first. I will definitely go to see you when Yang's situation improves. I'm non-committal. Who wouldn't say beautiful things? It may not be possible to say it, I've heard this too many times. But he broke his word every time. Once again, I no longer ask for his love and no longer believe in his promises. No expectations will not disappoint. I didn't look at him and left by mistake. I found someone to ask for a relationship and spent another amount of money to find a car to the city hospital. The wind was blowing through the car window in August, blowing the hair on my forehead into a mess. In the silent atmosphere, time seems particularly long. An hour later, I arrived at the city hospital with an N. There was a middle-aged man standing at the door, wearing black-rimmed glasses, looking very elegant and easygoing. I quickened my pace. Uncle Zhao, the middle-aged man, saw me and greeted me warmly. Xiaoyun, you're here. You called me an hour ago. I already have a general understanding of an Annan's condition, and the city hospital can cure it. Don't worry. I followed Uncle Zhao and walked into the hospital with him. Uncle Zhao, I'm sorry to trouble you. Thank you. Uncle Zhao pretended to be angry. His smiling face collapsed, and he looked a little angry. Your grandma is my mentor, and your father and I are best friends. I watched you grow up and treated you like my own niece. Just say hello to Annan's doctor. Thank you and see the outside. Uncle Zhao is a disciple of my grandmother. Grandma is a descendant of a family of traditional Chinese medicine, studied in the West when she was young, and returned to China after completing her studies. At the time of the country's life and death, he devoted himself to the revolutionary cause and became a military doctor. My grandmother met my grandfather in the army and became revolutionary comrades in arms. The second elder only has one child. My father. Grandma wanted to teach my father a body of medical skills, but my father was not interested in this, but he longed for the barracks. Gradually, Grandma took a break and accidentally found that Uncle Zhao was very talented in medicine, so she accepted him as a disciple. I looked sideways at Uncle Zhao and raised a smile, quickly walked to the consultation room. Fortunately, he was sent to the hospital in time. This disease is more common in children and has a high mortality rate, but it can turn the situation into safety as long as the medication is administered in time. I asked the nurse to take you to the ward, and the medicine was delivered afterwards. I cried with joy. Okay, thank you, doctor. A week later, he recovered. Today is the day I was discharged from the hospital, and I was packing my clothes while talking to Enan. Enan obediently sat on the chair next to the bed and nibbled on an apple. Mom, are we going home today? I raised a smile and turned to look at her. Yes, isn't Enan happy? The little girl lowered her head and thought, forgetting to eat apples, I don't want to go home. Yang will rob me of snacks and toys. Dad always said that I was a sister and wanted to let my brother go, and he often hugged him. But he didn't hug me. Speaking of her father, Annan's mood was obviously low. Mom, Dad is better to Yang. Does he not like me? Jiu Tingbei and I are considered to be in an arranged marriage. Grandpa and Grandpa Jiu are friends of life and death. Because of his life-saving grace to Grandpa Gu proposed to form a family of children and daughters. And the two families kissed each other. However, Grandpa and Grandpa Gu only had a son, and the marriage contract was postponed to the grandchildren. After the founding of Xinhua, Grandpa and Grandpa Gu went to serve in different places, and the two families gradually had less contact, only sending some festivals during the New Year's holidays. My mother died of bleeding when I gave birth, and my father died on a mission when I was 13 years old. When my grandparents participated in the anti-Japanese war when they were young, they suffered from many hidden diseases and died 6 years ago. In a family of 5, only my grandparents and I were left to rely on each other. 6 years ago, my grandfather was seriously ill and worried that I was single and had no support, so he contacted Grandpa Gu to fulfill this marriage contract. I don't know if it's possible. If marriage can reassure my grandfather, I am willing to fulfill his old man's wishes. I was pleasantly surprised to see Gu Tingbei before receiving the certificate. Half a year ago, I passed by a remote alley and was almost molested by hooligans. And it was Gu Tingbei who came like a god to teach the bad guys a lesson and sent them to the police station. It was getting late, and he was worried about my safety and sent me home. Most women worship heroes, and I am no exception. It's just that I was in a hurry that day and didn't have time to ask his name and where he lived. Now that we are reunited, joy fills my heart. I didn't expect the marriage partner to be my savior, not to mention the appearance conditions, the dignified appearance, the height and long legs, and the goodwill born from the life-saving grace. These all made me yearn for marriage with him. At the urging of my two grandfathers, Gu Tingbei and I got married. Holding the marriage certificate like a certificate, I was secretly excited, and I didn't notice Gu Tingbei's dark eyes. I plunged into this marriage, and now my enthusiasm has slowly faded, and I am covered in bruises, even though Gu Tingbei's favoritism is a fact. But my daughter is still young. How can I bear to tell her that her father is a child of someone else's family? It was too cruel to her. I walked up to my daughter and squatted down to look at her. Yang doesn't have a father. So his father will be kind to him. But Dad also loves Anan, and your father often hugged you when you were a child. I don't believe this myself. I secretly spat on myself, raised a smile, and touched my daughter's round head. Anan, if Mom and Dad live separately, do you want to live with Mom or Dad? The little girl smiled and threw herself into my arms and replied loudly, I only like my mother. I'm going to be with my mother. In fact, the child knows everything and knows who really loves her. I straightened out the two pigtails for Anan and stood up holding her with one hand. Mom and Anan will always be together. Shall we go home first now? Okay. It was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon when I got home. There is a thin layer of dust on the tables, chairs, and benches. Presumably, Gu Tingbei was running around in the hospital every day and had no time to clean. I briefly cleaned the living room and Anan's room, and then took her downstairs to buy groceries. Many military wives downstairs are playing outside with their children. When I passed by a big tree, Political Commissar Wu's wife stopped me, and several sisters-in-law around me also gathered around to join in the fun. Xiaoyun, I heard that you took Anan to the city hospital to see a doctor. Is Anan well? I took Anan's hand and talked with a smile. Thank you, sister-in-law Wu, for your concern. Anan is fine. You see, she is alive and well now. Sister-in-law Wu nodded. That's good. Once you pass all the diseases, you will definitely be healthy in the future. As soon as the words fell, there was a sister-in-law who didn't think it was a big deal to watch the excitement and said sarcastic things. Tingbei's daughter-in-law, you took your child to the city to see a doctor. Tingbei didn't say to go together. Qini's child has also been hospitalized in the past few days, and Battalion Commander Gu ran back and forth like his father. And those who didn't know thought they were a family. This sister-in-law is a famous loudspeaker in the compound, and she loves to say that the East and the West are short. I knew for a long time that she had no good words in her mouth, and when she opened her mouth, I asked Anan to go next to her to play with the other children. Some things are better for children not to listen to. My face was full of bitterness, saying that I understood Gu Tingbei, but I could see that I was insincere. Battalion Commander Ju has a life-saving grace to Tingbei. Qini's orphan and widow have no relatives, and Tingbei should take care of his brother's wife and children more. I came from a military family, and my parents and elders taught me to be strong and strong. I took my daughter to the doctor alone, and Tingbei stayed here to help Chinee. A T-words is not clever, but it tactfully affirms the fact that Gu Tingbei is partial to Chinee's mother and son. The sisters-in-law present are all human beings. Where can't they hear my voice? His daughters were so sick that they had to go to the city hospital to see a doctor, and Gu Tingbei still guarded Chinee's mother and son, completely ignoring her own daughter. There are so many people in the compound. Is she Chinee's popularity so bad that she can't find anyone to help? It's okay to take care of them at ordinary times, but at critical moments, you still have to be close and distant. The sisters-in-law put themselves in other people's shoes and thought about it. If their men were partial to other people's children, they would have made a big fuss long ago. Where would he say good things to his man outside like Shen Yunshu? It's silly. In the past few years, everyone has seen how Gu Tingbei treated Chinee and her son. I didn't say it before, everyone just looked at it as a rare thing. But now I don't want to endure it anymore. Some people don't know how to make progress, and they always have to pay the price. Sister-in-law Wu looked at me worriedly and patted my hand. I know you are generous and sensible, but no matter how much Battalion Commander Gu takes care of Chinee's mother and son, he can't ignore his small family. As women, we should show weakness appropriately. And it's good to talk about it when the husband and wife have something to say. Don't leave it as an overnight feud. The bitter mouth is the heart. My left ear goes in and out of the right ear. I had no intention of arguing with sister-in-law Wu, so I took an end to buy groceries with a few perfunctory words. The voices of the sisters-in-law talking came from behind. I have long seen that something is wrong with Battalion Commander Gu. Whenever he had time, he ran to Chinee's house, and stood with Chinee's mother and son like a family. Yes, yes. Battalion Commander Gu doesn't care about his daughter for the sake of his good brother's son. I said Chinee is not a good thing. There are so many people in the compound. No matter how bad it is, you can ask the organization for help. You have to call Battalion Commander Gu every day. But obviously she will be able to pinch men. The mouth of the masses is gold, and a 3-inch tongue can accumulate and destroy bones. The discussion fell, and I took an end to the supply and marketing cooperative. After washing, I coaxed an end to sleep, closed the bedroom door and came out, and sat alone in the living room. The warm yellow lights illuminated the world, and the moonlight jumped in from the balcony, which looked sad. I looked around at the decoration in the living room. Curtains, sofas, coffee tables, and tablecloths were all carefully selected by me. So I ran to the department stores in the county one by one. Gu Tingbei was busy training, busy with tasks, and busy dealing with things in the barracks. Until Zhu Chongqing's death, Gu Tingbei frequently went to Zhu's house in the name of taking care of Chinee's mother and son. At first, I thought Gu Tingbei was just taking care of the widow of his good brother, but then I saw the way he looked at Chinee. I admire Gu Tingbei, and I am too familiar with that kind of look. That night I cried under the covers. Reason told me that I should stop the loss in time, but I was reluctant. Wherever sincerity reaches, gold and stone are opened. I believe that as long as I am a good Mrs. Gu and let Gu Tingbei have no worries, he will see me, but I was ridiculously wrong. The first time the heartbeat of the white moonlight is not obtained, it will turn into a cinnabar mole. It will always remain in his heart and become a lingering shadow for me, in my past and present life. I saw Gu Tingbei clearly. I don't want to go to great lengths to please people who don't love me. Stopping losses in time is also self-esteem and self-love. This time, I will abandon him and never look back. The clock slowly walked to 9 o'clock. The night was as thick as ink. The sound of the door opening came from the door. It was Gu Tingbei who came back. Seeing me sitting in the living room, he was a little surprised. Yunshu, are you back? Why don't you say it in advance? I can pick up your mother and daughter back. Those with intentions do not need to be taught, and those without intentions cannot learn. If Gu Tingbei really cares about Anand's situation, why don't he call the city hospital to ask? Why don't he come to see his daughter? I sneered and opened my mouth to mock. How can Battalion Commander Gu have time to pick up our mother and daughter? I'm afraid he's busy taking care of other people's children in the hospital. With such a strange yin and yang, Gu Tingbei sensed my dissatisfaction and unbuttoned the 2 buttons of the neckline irritably. I didn't think about this matter, but Yang Yang was seriously ill. and Chini didn't have a partner by his side. Chini took care of the child alone. I don't have a husband. Because my husband goes to someone else's house to fulfill his responsibilities as a husband and father. In contrast, I am even more pitiful. Since Jiyu Tingbei likes to take care of Chini's mother and son, it is better to let them become a real family. I interrupted him impatiently. Jiyu Tingbei, let's get a divorce. Since my rebirth, I have imagined filing for divorce from Jiyu Tingbei countless times, thinking that I would be heartbroken and sad, but after I really said it, I found myself so calm, like a pool of water that has not been rippling for thousands of years. I admired Jiyu Tingbei's surprised, shocked, and incredulous expression with great interest. Yun Shu, why did you divorce? Is it because of this and an incident? After 6 years of marriage, I kept my home in order, and Jiyu Tingbei never had to worry about housework and personal relationships. He is old-fashioned and upright and doesn't like to change his living habits, but his doubts were only because of his living habits, not because of me. I sighed, not only because of Anan, when I was taking care of Anan in the hospital these days. I carefully considered our marriage, how excited I was when I married you, and how sad I was when I found out that you liked Chini. Jiyu Tingbei didn't expect that I had already seen that he liked Chini, and thought that he was covering up well under the banner of taking good care of his brother's widow. At this moment, there are more angry and corrupt people who have been exposed to their hearts. Shen Yunshu, don't chase the wind and think wildly. Chini and I are innocent. And taking care of their mother and son is just because Chongqing has a life-saving grace to me. Look, there are more words to excuse your sweetheart. I laughed and fiddled with a strand of hair nonchalantly. Oh, maybe you and Chini are indeed innocent, but what you did tells me that you are partial to their mother and son. Jiyu Tingbei, you can deceive outsiders, but you can't deceive yourself and me. I really liked you before, so naturally I know how to like someone. I didn't wait for him to refute, looked at the inky night, and recalled the past in the sound of cicadas. Do you remember when I gave birth to Anan in confinement? Jiyu Tingbei looked confused, obviously not remembering. A few days after I gave birth to Anan, you came back from a mission and said that Zhu Chongqing died for you to block bullets. Chini heard the bad news of premature birth, so you guarded Chini's mother and son all day and night, soaking milk powder, washing diapers, and asking someone to make soup for Chini to drink, doing what her husband and father should do. Chini enjoys your care, but I have to take care of Anan alone. The water is so cold in winter, but my husband is washing diapers for other people's children, completely ignoring his wife and daughter. Tears slipped down unconsciously, and I wiped them away. The unbearable days of the past can now be said lightly. I feel sorry for Chini for losing her husband and having no support, thinking that it would be better to wait for her children to grow up. But I don't know how great a responsibility it is to raise a child. Children have to worry about food and clothing, and parents are even more worried when they are sick. When the children grow up, they have to go to school. When they become adults, they have to worry about their children's work. They have to think about getting married after work, and they have to take care of their grandchildren when they get married. I paused and looked at Jiyu Tingbei seriously. Jiyu Tingbei, with your friendship with Zhu Chongqing and Chini, it is impossible for you to abandon Chini and Zhu Yang and ignore it. And I don't want to share my husband with anyone else, nor do I want Anan to share a father's love with other children. Although the palms and backs of the hands are all meat, they are also thick and thin. 2 children are sick at the same time, and you choose to give up Anan, which is the best proof. Disappointment is accumulated by small things, and when you save enough, you give up. Jiyu Tingbei didn't care about my thoughts before. As long as the family was calm, he could devote himself to Chini's mother and son without any worries. But today I expressed my dissatisfaction, and he could no longer pretend to know nothing. He eagerly defended himself and reached out to grab my hand, but I dodged him. Yun Shu, I admit that I treated you and Anan badly in the past. You give me another chance to compensate your mother and daughter. Jiyu Tingbei's words are credible. Pigs can climb trees. Jiyu Tingbei, my compensation is not uncommon. You should leave your father's love to your good brother's son. I am divorced from this marriage. Seeing me so determined, Jiyu Tingbei pleaded with his eyes. Yun Shu, you have to think about Anan. She is so young that she still needs a father. Can't we live a good life as a family? I was really laughed at by his self-righteousness, as early as when you gave up Anan in the hospital. I told you that you are not worthy of being Anan's father. Are you embarrassed to be Anan? Have you washed her diaper? How many times have you coaxed her to sleep, when I was in the city hospital? Anan asked me if you often hugged Ju Yang and didn't hug her. Did you not like her? I was sad and ashamed to hear this. I was blind and couldn't choose a good father for her. Do you think that pretending to be deaf and dumb will not exist if even children can see clearly? After a question, Jiyu Tingbei was heard, and he grabbed his hair irritably. He raised his head, and the red blood in his eyes was particularly obvious. I love Anan, regardless of the deeds. How ridiculous is his fatherly love that only moves his mouth. I held back my laughter. Maybe, but Anan can't compare to the weight of Chini's mother and son in your heart. I will never let Anan be one of your choices again. Jiyu Tingbei's voice was a little hoarse. Yun Shu, why are you so aggressive? We still live as before, okay? The good thing is it's Qinyi and her son, not me and Anan. I rolled my eyes, picked up the cup and took a sip of warm water. I need a complete husband. Anan needs complete fatherly love, obviously. You can't do it. In this case, it is better to get together and disperse. If you don't agree to the divorce, maybe I'll have to talk to my sisters-in-law about how you enthusiastically take care of Qinyi's mother and son while ignoring your wife and daughter. After saying that, I put the slipped hair behind my ear. You have a background in the Jiyu family, and this may not affect you, but Qinyi is helpless. Her husband's family is far away in the countryside and can't help. I don't know what will happen to her. Qinyi was indeed Jiyu Tingbei's reverse scale, and when she heard that I would threaten her, she immediately became uncalm. Is so simple and kind. You actually want to hurt her with such rumors. Since you want to divorce, then do as you wish. I will write a divorce application tonight. If it weren't for the marriage contract between the two families, Grandpa would have forced me to refuse. Do you think I would be willing to marry you, Shen Yunshu? Don't think too highly of yourself. After 6 years of marriage, I know the reason why Jiyu Tingbei and I got married. One is because of the marriage contract of the Shun and Jiyu families, but more importantly, Qinyi chose Ju Changqing, who looked more promising. At that time, Jiyu Tingbei's love stillborn before he had time to confess has become a taboo that can never be said clearly. Just met Grandpa Jiyu urging marriage. If you can't marry your sweetheart, who is not marrying me can still satisfy the elders. I was looking forward to it, and Jiyu Tingbei was full of coping. That's how we got married, and now it's ending miserably. Jiyu Tingbei returned to the bedroom and slammed the door heavily. I sat in the living room and felt a chill on my face. It turned out to be my tears. Jiyu Tingbei moved quickly and submitted the divorce application the next day. In this era, it pays attention to bedside fights and bedside harmony. As long as it does not involve life and death events, it is easy not to divorce. In addition, Jiyu Tingbei is also a battalion commander, and he is recognized as having a bright future in the army. Suddenly receiving Jiyu Tingbei's divorce application, the leaders were shocked. For this reason, he also called me to ask the reason. I can't get used to Qinyi, but I have to wait for me to get a successful divorce before cleaning her up. In the face of the leader, I only said that my relationship with Jiyu Tingbei broke down and I could not continue to live together. The leader earnestly advised me to think more about my children, but I took the scale and insisted on divorce. After all, it is a personal matter, and freedom of marriage cannot be forced. The leader asked me to go back and wait for news, and the army would seriously consider it. By the way, I went downstairs to sister-in-law's house to pick up Anan and took her home together. I didn't expect to meet Qinyi, who had been waiting for a long time at the door of my house. Qinyi is indeed good-looking. Otherwise she would not be able to enter the art troupe, and she also attracted Ju Changqing and Jiyu Tingbei. After marriage, she transferred to work behind the scenes, and when she became a mother, she was still slender and coquettish. The news that Jiyu Tingbei and I were going to divorce spread throughout the compound, and it was not surprising that she knew. Today is probably to show off. It's so cheeky. Wasn't the slap I received in the hospital last time impressive enough? I greeted Qinyi into the house and asked Anan to go back to the room to play with toys. When she turned around, she was already sitting on the sofa. Qinyi came to my house for the first time. At this moment, he was looking around at the furnishings in the house, and the greed in his eyes was about to overflow. Seeing me sit down on the sofa, she quickly started her White Lotus performance. Sister Yunshu, I am relieved to see that I am safe and healthy. Fortunately, both children are fine. You won't still be angry with me, will you? I stared at her with a smile. Of course not. I was too impulsive that day. Your face doesn't hurt, right? Chini's face froze. I tried my best to scold that slap. And it was normal for it to hurt for 2 or 3 days. Chini cares about her face the most. Isn't it embarrassing? But you can't eat with a thin skin, and you can eat enough with a thick skin. She will never give up until she achieves her goal. Sister Yunshu, I heard that you and brother Jiyu are getting divorced. Is it true? Inquiring about the truth and the false is her real purpose. I put down my glass and looked at her with a smile. Of course it's true. Jiyu Tingbei's divorce application has been submitted. Chini got a positive answer. The corners of her mouth raised uncontrollably, and she tried to suppress it. Alas, you husband and wife have had a daughter named Anan for 6 years. How did you come to the step of divorce? It seems to be worried about me. But in fact it is gloating. I don't bother to talk to her. I divorced Jiyu Tingbei. Isn't it you the happiest person? With Jiyu Tingbei's thoughts on you. Remarrying after divorce will definitely consider you first. At that time, you, Ju Yang, and Jiyu Tingbei can be a real family. Chini was poked at the center of my heart and blushed. You misunderstood. Chongqing and brother Jiyu are good brothers. And brother Jiyu has taken care of me and Yang over the years, but also for Chongqing's face. It's really both wanted, and you have to set up an archway when you become a bitch. Then don't blame me for killing people, I sneered. Ju Chongqing doesn't know that his good brother has taken over his husband and father's identity. Right, after you give birth, Jiyu Tingbei will send you tonic soup, make milk powder for the child, and wash diapers every day. Whenever I have time, I run to your house. And Jiyu Tingbei will repair the broken water pipes and burned circuits. You look like a weak cartilage, and when your menstrual period comes, Jiyu Tingbei will send you hot water bottles and brown sugar water. As soon as I encountered a thunderstorm, I called Jiyu Tingbei and said that the child was so scared that he cried and wanted to find his father. I'm curious, didn't Ju Chongqing die heroically? Where did Ju Yang go to find his father? Or do you usually teach Ju Yang to call Jiyu Tingbei dad? It's really reprehensible. Destroying military marriage is a felony. Chini was like a frightened rabbit. Her eyes were red. Sister Yunshu, how can you think of me like that? Yang is so pitiful. He was born without his father, and I usually teach him to call him dad with evergreen photos. I don't care who the dad Ju Yang shouted was, it's just that I really don't want to watch Chini's clumsy performance. It's just the two of us here, don't pretend. When you chose Ju Chongqing, didn't you just want him to have a brighter future? But you didn't expect him to die young. And his good days fell in vain within a few days. After calculating the circle of people around you, you think Jiyu Tingbei is the most suitable for you. First, there is the brotherhood between Ju Chongqing and Jiyu Tingbei. Second, I paused deliberately. You knew that Jiyu Tingbei was interested in you as early as when you chose Ju Chongqing. So after Ju Chongqing's sacrifice, you trapped Jiyu Tingbei through production and children. And let him participate in your life like a husband and father. People, the more you give, the more you cherish. Last time Jiyu Tingbei chose to save your son in the hospital, didn't you get proud? If you catch fish for so long, as long as you squeeze me away, you can enter the house and continue to live a good life. And you will have fame, fortune, and status. Seeing that I was straightforward about poking her, Chini didn't pretend anymore. Took out a handkerchief and wiped away the tears. Where was there still a little sadness? Is it wrong to think about living a good life? It's just that Ju Chongqing's life is not good. He died so early, and left me a son. Speaking of her son, Chini curled her lips in disgust. Every day I only eat and sleep and eat. And it is useless at all. But he is Ju Chongqing's son. How can Jiyu Tingbei bear to ignore his good brother's son? I often call Jiyu Tingbei to my house in the name of my child, and if I show weakness appropriately in getting along, I can make him feel sorry for me. Speaking of this, she proudly smoothed out the folds of her skirt. Women, it's still time to show weakness. Men will feel distressed. Don't you think Jiyu Tingbei has a deep affection for me and is difficult to let go? It's really disgusting to say that seducing a married man is so high-sounding. I showed a disgusted expression and disdained to talk to her too much. Okay, your goal is almost achieved. Ji Tingbei leaves it to you. I wish you 100 years of good harmony and love for a lifetime. As soon as the words fell, the door was pushed open. Ji Tingbei walked in, looking calm. The door was closed. And he didn't know how much he heard. As soon as he saw Ji Tingbei, Qinyi regained his appearance as a little white rabbit and immediately explained his intentions to him. Brother Ji, I heard that you are going to get a divorce, so I came to persuade Sister Yunshu. I didn't expect Sister Yunshu. Ji Tingbei's face was cold, and his speech was not as gentle as usual. It's none of your business here. You go back first. Yang is waiting for you to take care of it. Qinyi is very good at reading people's faces, and knows that it is not appropriate to talk too much now. She was one step away from success, and she could afford to wait. In the empty living room, only Ji Tingbei and I were left. Did what you just said sincere? I looked at him strangely. I've said so much. Which one do you mean? Ji Tingbei gritted his teeth and repeated, I wish you 100 years of good harmony and love for a lifetime. Of course it's true. Lovers finally get married. I applaud. Ji Tingbei sat next to me and turned sideways to meet my eyes. Are you in such a hurry to push me to someone else? It's going to be divorced. So what's the ambiguity? I pushed Ji Tingbei away. I made it very clear yesterday. After 6 years of marriage, you are not qualified to be a husband or a father. Instead of looking at each other and being tired of each other, it is better to say goodbye and relax. It's best if you agree to divorce. And if you don't agree, I will also take Anan back to Shenzhen, and the big deal is to separate the two places. Besides, you can finally marry Qinyi. Don't you want to hug the beauty? I don't give an inch. And my attitude is resolute. Ji Tingbei finally gave in. I owe you mother and daughter. If you want to divorce, you can leave. Anan, you take it away. I won't take a big man with children. All the money in the family will be given to you, and I will pay Anan's child support on time every month in the future. I snorted coldly in my heart. Can't take children. Isn't it good for you to take Ju Yang? But you won't be able to take your daughter. It's all excuses, however. Ji Tingbei's agreement to divorce is the best result. I got up and went back to Anan's room, leaving him alone in the living room. I got the results I wanted, and I had a good night's sleep. During the days of waiting for the divorce to be approved, I slowly packed up my and Anan's things. The suitcase was filled with some items that would be used in the past few days, and the winter cotton clothes and pants were sent directly back to Shunqing's home. Shunqing's house was left to me by my grandparents, and it was adopted into my name on the day I became an adult. Grandma often said that a girl's house is not only a house, but also her confidence and retreat. Now it seems that Grandma is really prescient. After another 10 days, the divorce was approved, and Ji Tingbei and I went through the divorce procedures. I bought 2 sleeper tickets for the train to Shenzhen. Before leaving, I went to the gathering place of my sisters-in-law in the compound to say goodbye to them. By the way, reveal the special relationship between Qinyi and Ji Tingbei, how Ji Tingbei took care of Qinyi's mother and son like a husband and father, and how much Qinyi and her son depended on Ji Tingbei. The sisters-in-law's life is monotonous and boring, and they like such plausible peach-colored scandals the most. Qinyi will be isolated by her sisters-in-law if she is not punished. After all, everyone has a man, and the sisters-in-law don't want to lure the wolf into the house. It had just rained heavily on the day I left, and the weather was a little cooler. The train station is crowded. I sat in the waiting hall and took out a thermos cup from my bag to feed Anan water. Suddenly I heard someone calling me, and the voice was a little familiar. Shen Yunshu dash, Shen Yunshu dash, Shen Yunshu dash. I subconsciously stood up and saw Ji Tingbei hurriedly looking for someone in the crowded waiting hall. As soon as he turned around, he saw me and ran over to take me into his arms. In his ears were Ji Tingbei's scorching breath, as well as his ecstatic and remorseful murmurs. Yunshu, Yunshu. I see you again. This is not a dream, not a dream. I love you. I haven't liked Qinyi for a long time. The care of her over the years was only out of guilt and unwillingness. I'm sorry. I've been in love with you for a long time, but I still let my dullness hurt you. Listening to Ji Tingbei's words, I guess he should be reborn like me. But so what? The damage has been done, and I was lucky enough to save my daughter again. I have truly experienced the pain of losing my daughter. Those favoritism and indifference are true, and I will no longer hand over my happiness and my daughter's happiness into the hands of others. Divorce is a foregone conclusion, and I will never look back. I coldly pushed Jiu Tingbei away and looked at him without sadness or joy. We got the divorce certificate the day before yesterday, and it has nothing to do with me who you like in the future. Jiu Tingbei grabbed my hand and trembled slightly. Yun Shu, are you back too? We don't care about Qinyi. Can we start over as a family of 3? I broke away from his hand with all my might, looked into his eyes, and refused seriously. Not good. A broken mirror is hard to round. And a spilled water is hard to retract. The hurt, pain and grievances of the past are all real, and I have no hope for you anymore. Jiu Tingbei lowered his eyes in disappointment, as if he felt that my heart was like a rock, and it could not be changed. Woo dash, the train was about to depart. And the conductor began to urge, my car with an N is about to depart. Goodbye, Jiu Tingbei. I stopped looking at him. Carrying a suitcase in one hand and walking towards the carriage with the other, Jiu Tingbei's excited shout came from behind him. Yun Shu, I won't remarry, I will always love you. I smiled without much concern. Divorced, what does it have to do with me if you don't marry again? Since then, only Annan is our only contact. Under the care of the conductor, Annan and I successfully found our bed location. The train started slowly. I saw the scenery outside the window slowly recede. The train will only move forward and never turn back. The same is true in life. Keep moving forward and never look back. My family is a table tennis family, and my sister and I are known as the double beauties in table tennis. In order to win the championship, my sister chose to immigrate and change her nationality in order to win the championship, which has a grand prize of 50 million, and I chose to fight for my country. We met in the Olympic arena, in order to let my sister win. I was accused of doping and banned from racing, and then my sister killed and silenced me. I said to everyone all over again, I achieved excellent results because of my racket. During the official competition, my sister said proudly with my racket in her hand, Sister, I will definitely win you this time. I command you, this Olympic Games will give up the championship to your sister. My father said in my ear proudly, if you win a championship, you will win a medal at most. But your sister will be different. After she won the championship, she had 50 million. Yes, see you, the mother continued, our family is already difficult enough. Your sister has been scolded for changing nationality over the years. So you should be considerate of your mother and give up the championship to your sister. I listened to the two of them speaking against the sky, and endured the hatred in my chest. But this is only the round of 64, even if I let her win. She may not necessarily win to the end, it's none of your business. My father looked at me and sneered, your sister will definitely win to the end. Do you think that training methods abroad are the same as yours? They mainly pay attention to a combination of work and rest. I don't know how much more efficient than you. It's just that you admit death and don't want to go, otherwise I won't have to talk to you now. I looked at my parents who were still taken for granted in front of me. And a wave of weakness rose in my heart. No matter how many times I tried it, they were still like this. An eccentric sister with no bottom line, a foreign beauty with no bottom line. My sister and I both came from a table tennis family, but since I was a child, my parents have favored my sister, taking my sister with me and putting me at my grandparents' house, which is the only thing I am grateful to them. My grandparents taught me to play hand in hand since I was a child. They taught me patriotism and taught me not to give up my motherland no matter what. I grew up in this atmosphere until my grandparents passed away. They smiled and said to me, see you, Country B has a high playing bonus. If you and Mingzhu can win the championship, we will not have to worry about eating and drinking for the rest of our lives. You, just go with the pearl. Where is it not to play? My righteous refusal was met with their scolding and my sister's ridicule. Why are you so ignorant? I don't know how to help the family share at all. My mother scolded me. Sister, Country B uses the most advanced training methods. You really don't have a happy life. My sister also said with a smile, Shasiu, if you don't leave with us today, you will be without me. I looked at her stern face, and there was no hesitation that it was fake. But in the end, it was my grandparents who taught me patriotism that prevailed. I ignored my parents' coercion and temptations and firmly rejected them, and they left directly with their sister, as they said, never came back. I also fell into a situation of isolation and helplessness. starving every day until I met the coach who heard the news of my grandfather's death and rushed over but only saw my yellow face from hunger. I was taken in by the national table tennis team, and all these years of battles with my sister have ended in my victory. I also wanted my parents to look at me more, and I also wanted to use my strength to tell my parents that my choice was the right one. But from beginning to end, all I got was their white eyes, and the bottomless comfort and connivance of my sister. Shasiu, don't forget how your life came to be now. Seeing that I didn't reply, my mother's voice was much louder. Otherwise, if you took away your sister's nutrients in your stomach since you were a child, could she lose so many games to you? I took a deep breath and said, I've said it so many times, the reason why I can win her so many times is because the racket is easy to use. Yes, don't you just have a racket? My sister walked over slowly, but her eyes were full of schadenfreude. If it weren't for this racket, you wouldn't be anything. I resisted the urge to strangle her and nodded, turned around and wanted to leave. My sister shouted my name loudly at this time, Shasiu. Domestic training is unscientific, only country B is the most powerful. Sister, you should have lost to me a long time ago, but it doesn't matter, it's not too late to lose to me at this time. She looked at me defiantly. You will be defeated by me under the gaze of people all over the world. I will also prove to the world that your training system is not as good as our country B at all. Divine gold. I rolled my eyes at her and strode away. It wasn't until I walked to a place where no one was there that I couldn't help but start retching. The feeling of suffocation seems to still haunt me and refuses to dissipate for a long time. In my previous life, my sister and I also met at the Olympics. And my parents' first reaction when they learned about this was to find me and ask me to deliberately lose to my sister. Naturally, I would not agree, and severely reprimanded them for being lackeys from other countries. And strangely, they didn't say anything, just looked at me hatefully and left. I knew what kind of people they were, and I was even more suspicious of them compromising so quickly. But my game started quickly, and the high-intensity training made me think of nothing else in my brain, until I walked to the competition stage. I was an athlete selected by the country after layers of strict selection, and I wanted to bring this gold medal back to the motherland more than anyone else. I won this match without a doubt, and I even won it easily and effortlessly, eliminating my sister in the round of 64 with an absolute advantage of 4-0. But before I could celebrate, I was taken away by people from the Discipline Inspection Commission, who said that someone reported me for doping. Stimulant. How ridiculous. I even think someone made such a joke on purpose. I was born in such a country. How could I use doping? And how could I disdain to use doping? But the reality is often so dramatic. When I walked to the scene and saw the two people who reported me, I felt like the sky was falling. My parents pretended to be extremely sad. They looked at me with tearful eyes and scolded me, saying, Shasiu, how I taught you, have you forgotten? How dare you use doping? How dare you use doping while fighting with your sister? Yes, sister. The sister also wiped away a handful of tears and said, I know my existence has put a lot of pressure on you. But you can't use this method either. Right, you really let me down. I stared at them blankly, not knowing what to say, and my doubts were finally answered. I see, it turned out that for the victory of one child, they even did not hesitate to exchange the reputation of another child. When I saw the two of them, I already knew the results of this test, and I numbly cooperated with everyone to conduct the test, and the final test result was that I did take stimulants. My water glass was placed on the table, everyone's eyes were on it. The coaches were looking at me, but I never dared to look back. I don't dare to see the disappointment in their eyes, even if it's just a frame-up. I have also complained, and I have repeatedly stated on social platforms that all this is done by my parents, but I was hammered to the bottom by the evidence they had already prepared. I was also banned for this, and my sister re-qualified for the round of 32. Everyone is scolding me. Scolding me for doing everything to win. Scolding me for doing something wrong and only knowing how to push it on my parents, scolding me for not inheriting the style of a table tennis family at all. When I was in a daze and prepared to fight back again, my sister came to the door. She handed me a glass of water and said aggrievedly that she had just known that her parents did everything, cried and begged me to forgive her, and said that she would explain the whole story to the public. I believed it, accepted all her kindness, and regarded her as my last straw. However, When I drank that glass of water, my consciousness gradually disappeared. I felt her drag me into the bathtub, pressing my head against the water-filled bathtub. When I was dying, she smiled and said, "Shasiu, you don't really think I'll apologize to you, do you? It's my parents' fault for this matter. Say let their hands and feet be unclean and leave evidence. I can't really let you turn over, right?" It wasn't until I really died that she let go of her hand, kicked my corpse in disgust and sneered, "Obviously we are the same mother, but why are you so much stronger than me? Now it's good, no one will compare you with me anymore. Shasiu, you can't blame me, all this you owe me, after my death." I did not enter reincarnation directly, but continued to wander in the Olympic arena. "But sister, your proud B country training method still stopped you in the round of 32. In the face of the interview, she cried and said, "We are sorry for my sister. If my parents hadn't reported my sister will not commit suicide out of fear." So, everyone began to sympathize with her, and everyone began to scold me for being guilty. But what did I do wrong? The next appearance is Siyu in Country A. Fighting against her is her sister Shi Mingzhu in the course of previous competitions. Our Country A player Shasiu won the Shi Mingzhu of Country B with absolute strength and a 100% win rate. I don't know what kind of surprises they will bring us in this game. Let's wait and see. I suddenly came back to my senses, took the racket in my hand, thought about what I had done, and walked firmly onto the playing field. This time, I will definitely win the game cleanly. My sister looked at me with a smile. "I will definitely win this competition. I'll step on you in the spotlight." The game started quickly, and the voice of the commentary rang in my ears. Shasiu's sidespin serve was unpredictable, causing her opponents to make frequent mistakes when returning serves, earning her many key points. Good ball, 11-5. Congratulations to Shasiu for winning the first game. I wiped the racket on my hand and looked at my sister opposite. She was still neither arrogant nor impatient. And she didn't look like she was yelling anxiously every time she lost a goal in her previous life. I was puzzled, but I was still confident enough to win this game. I raised my table tennis racket, shrugged my shoulders accustomedly, twisted my neck, squatted my horse, raised my head slightly, and looked at each other. As I raised my arm to catch the ball, the strangeness brought to me by the racket continued to grow. Another direct shot. I raised my racket to catch it, but it was just a little off. I frowned at the scene, stepped back with my left foot, pushed hard with my right hand at the ball, stared straight at the ball with my eyes and directly killed the ball in front of my sister, and I lost points again. "Yes," my sister roared. "Good ball. Come on, Mingzhu." Parents outside the stands are also struggling to fuel their children. Shasiu's condition is not very good. I hope Shasiu can return to the state of the first game as soon as possible. The commentary continued. I looked at the racket in my hand. It was obviously the one I usually use, but it just felt different. Down spin, upward, forward and reverse rotation. Often the way I play the most familiar is repeatedly wrong. Fire, twist, force and force, steps, body, restore and restore. I used all my strength, but the ball in my hand seemed to no longer listen to my commands. And it brushed my racket and fell to the ground again and again. What a pity. Shasiu was caught up by Shi Mingzhu again. "What happened to Shasiu today? Why have you never been in a state?" The score has come to 3-1. "Come on, Shasiu, if you lose another game, you will completely lose." My sister jumped up happily, looked at me provocatively, and smiled wildly, and the parents sitting in the center of the stands were also raising their arms and chanting for their sister's victory. I looked at them for a moment, remembering that every time I won a game in my previous life, they always looked at me with some accusations. It's like blaming me for hindering their children's journey. I came back to my senses, my hand holding the racket tightened, and when I raised my eyes, I saw my sister lip-syncing to me. I said, "You will definitely lose." I gritted my teeth, holding the ball in my hand, and when I was about to hit it, I only heard a click. The racket broke. The audience was silent. Shasiu's racket broke. The commentator was surprised and said, "Why does the racket break? Is this a problem with Shasiu's team, or is someone deliberately damaging her racket?" I looked at the racket in my hand and my sister's gloating, and I already knew in my heart, in this life, because I have repeatedly said that my victory is all because of my racket, he actually stupidly came to my racket, The coach called a timeout, and I went to change my racket. What's going on? How can a racket break? Is it the reason why you are not in the state of playing in the first few games? The coach handed me the subcard. I said, "Why did you lose so many balls? We all know that the quality of the rackets used by table tennis players is very good. Regardless of what racket Shasiu broke this time, we believe that the Olympic Committee will thoroughly investigate to the end, and Shasiu will be fair at the same time. I also hope that Shasiu can correct his mentality and complete the reversal to win this game. This is a deck and a blessing card. Let us give Shasiu the warmest applause. Whether she wins or loses, she is our hero." I wiped the sweat from my face and walked to the stage again. The commentator on stage said this. But the reporters in the audience flocked to point the camera at my parents. "Do you have anything to say about your two daughters' games? Pearl will prove to the world that the training method of Country B is the most correct and efficient. You mean you don't think that Country A player Shasiu will win, right?" They glanced at the scorer and smiled. Isn't the result obvious? Listening to my parents' words, even though I felt a little uncomfortable in my heart, I had already expected the current situation. The rest of the game, nothing affects me. Shasiu, you have already lost. The score has reached this point. What are you still struggling with? My sister triumphantly said to me, "You have never been chosen by anyone. Don't you understand? You were born inferior to me. So what?" I stared into my sister's eyes and said, "So what? There will always be someone who unswervingly chooses me. Shut up the fucking for me." The coach glared at his parents and yelled, "Can you say that we are Xiaoyu?" As the whistle sounded, I quickly sent the ball in my hand to her, like my country, for example. In my country, the coaches who were looking for evidence for me until I died in my previous life, for example, my fans argue on the internet that I am the one they grew up watching. Behind me is the glory that countless people have earned with their blood and tears, and I can't lose, at least I can't lose here. Snap. The ball was sent over the net and bounced off the edge of the table. Congratulations to Shasiu for getting a point first. Cheers rang in my ears. I looked at my sister and said, "It's mine. I'll get it back little by little. The efforts I made cannot be erased by you with small actions." The score quickly came to 10-3, which was my match point. Since I started winning, my sister has played more and more unruly, and there are many simple balls that she hasn't caught. I stared at the little white ball in my hand and sent it out again. 11-3. When the relationship is in time, Siu pulled back a game. The big score came to 3-2. The commentator shouted in a frustrated manner, "I hope Shasiu's next game will be smoother. I hope he can expose all the conspiracies under Youngwon." Pause. My father shouted with a bluish face, and then looked at me hatefully. I didn't pay attention to his gaze, just stood on the field and wiped my racket. "Shasiu, you will definitely lose." My sister walked up to me and looked at me with certainty. I glanced at her. Nothing is certain. As the game began, the next second, a small white ball flew towards me. Start the racket. Play. These things engraved in my bones came in handy again. A muscle memory formed by more than 10 years of practice day and night. Nothing is certain, but when I represent the country, I have to win. Good ball. Shasiu got a point again. Now the score has come to 9-1. As long as Shasiu wins 2 more games, he can completely break the disadvantage back. Come on, sometimes I think of the rain. What's more worth mentioning is that since Shasiu changed his racket, it seems that Shimingzhu has been affected. I looked at my sister's angry face and picked up the ball in my hand again. No way. The sister stood there and said incredulously, Obviously you changed my racket. Why can't you still win?" I answered nonchalantly, "Shimingzhu, you don't really think that I won because of the racket, right?" The white ball flew over. But the person on the opposite side seemed to be motionless. 11-1. Congratulations to Shasiu for leveling the score. There was a cheer on the field, and I stood on the field with my arms raised, winning 2 games in a row, leveling the score. Everyone on the field was happy for me except for my parents' and sister's ugly faces. I glanced at my parents' faces. And when our eyes collided, my father opened his mouth, as if he was about to say something. I smiled and made a booing gesture, then he took the racket and stood on the edge of the platform again. "You know," my sister gritted her teeth and said, "How do you know?" "Guess what?" I smiled and winked at her. But I sent the ball out mercilessly in my hand. "That's a racket I've been using for almost 3 years. How could I not know if you changed it, after listening to my words? My sister glared at her parents behind her, but she didn't catch the ball I sent out. There was a burst of boos on the field. You're proud, aren't you? My sister gritted her teeth. Do you really think I only have this hand to prepare? I ignored her and started serving again, and she didn't know what was affected. And she played more and more unruly. 10-0, when it comes to Shisiu's match point. This time Shisiu will let a ball or implement the concept of respecting the opponent to the end. Let's wait and see. My sister was holding the ball in her hand, and I could tell that she was on the verge of collapse now, as she screamed and sent the ball out of her hand. The small white ball bounced a few times on the table and finally fell to the ground on her side. The serve went over the net. 11-0. Let's congratulate Shisiu on his successful comeback against the wind. The commentator stood on the stage and yelled. The coach also ran over from between the seats and hugged me tightly. Okay, good, it's really good. With tears in his eyes, he said more than a dozen good things. No one knows better than him how difficult it is for me to come this way. And no one knows better than him how much grievance I will suffer as long as I meet my sister in the game. Tonight belongs to Shisiu, it also belongs to every audience friend who accompanied Shisiu over. The commentator chattered. I'll report it. The voice that wasn't too loud exploded in my ears, and I looked at my parents in front of the referee, who were saying something indignantly. I want to report, Shisiu took doping before the game. His words exploded like thunder in everyone's ears. What the hell are you talking about? The coach suddenly looked at the person in front of the referee. Do you know that this is slander? Are you so unaccustomed to Xiaoyu winning? Is only Shi Mingzhu your child? As long as you come back over the years, how many grievances Xiaoyu has suffered, don't you have any points in your heart? Do you still want to ruin Xiaoyu's future now? At the end, the coach even had red eyes. He knows everything, so he feels sorry for me the most. It was the same in my previous life. He stood in front of me alone, blocked those people's abuse of me for me, and when other coaches doubted me. He also stepped forward and said that he believed the girl he brought out. It was also him who told me that when I gave up hope, there would be traces on my face. As long as I didn't give up, one day the country would return my innocence. But I didn't wait until that time. I slander her. She knows in her heart what she has done. Isn't she just trying to prove to us that she is better than her sister? As for the use of these means, the mother sneered and said, we applied to investigate Shisiu, a player from country A, and return the Olympic Games to be fair and just. You guys, the coach took a step forward to argue, but I stopped him. What if I didn't? I looked into my mother's eyes and said, what if I didn't use stimulants, slander the players, if I make a mistake in any of my next games? It will be your reason. Can you afford this responsibility? My mother just looked at me confidently. See you, no one knows better than me what kind of person you are. Mom knows that you have wanted to prove yourself in front of us since you were a child, but some methods are not advisable after all. Sister, are you saying that your parents have wronged you? My sister said with a needle. Then how do you explain that your performance was so poor in the first few games? And it will get better later. I know you want to take away your parents' love for me since you were a child, but you can't do it this way. You didn't see her beat broken. The coach stepped forward and spoke. Okay, I cooperate with the investigation. I turned around and waved my racket at the people of the Discipline Inspection Commission, but I also hope you can give me an explanation. Having said that, to save time, I opted for a blood test. Just after the test, his father rushed in again, and he hurriedly said, I remember wrong. Shisiu didn't take doping in this game. Everyone present had dark faces, and they didn't know what trick he was playing. I just stood there and looked at him quietly, like in my previous life, and after I frankly took a urine test, he hurriedly ran in and told everyone that the stimulants had not yet been taken. In this way, the Discipline Inspection Commission found a small amount of stimulants that had not yet been taken in the water in my cup. Only this time, I will never let you get what you want. What is it to just check me? Before they could say anything, I interrupted. Why don't you check Shi Mingzhu too? What nonsense are you talking about? My father glared at me. How could Mingzhu take stimulants like you? What reason does she have to doping? Yes, sister, my sister's face changed. Since I was a child, my parents have taught me to play fair and just games. Then what reason do I have to take a stimulant? I squinted at him. Isn't the result of so many games enough for me to feel at ease? Why should I take stimulants? My father was speechless by me. He gritted his teeth and handed his sister's hand to the front. Go, Pearl, tell them how innocent you are. My sister glanced at the people around her and went in with a cruel heart. Shasiyu, don't be proud, my father said viciously. Mingzhu is innocent. You don't have to be like this. I rolled my eyes at him. If you are innocent, wait for the results to come out. What use do you say now? That's it. After the test results come out, I will sue you to death. The coach said viciously. My father didn't say much when he saw our attitude, but the old god was leaning on the chair on the ground. Only when my sister came out, she opened her eyes, and after a few words of comfort, she leaned over again. The waiting time was always long, and it was not until the sun moved west that the prosecutors walked out of the door with a dark face. How is it? Was Shasiyu diagnosed with doping? When my father saw them coming out, he flew up and asked. My sister's eyes were also frighteningly bright. The staff in front of them just glanced at them coldly, with contempt almost overflowing in their eyes. In everyone's expectant eyes, they paused and said, according to our results, MS, Shasiyu did not detect traces of taking the potion, but MS, Mingzhu. My sister's face turned pale instantly. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? You say, speak quickly. A small amount of stimulants that have not yet been dissolved were detected in MS, Mingzhu's blood. The staff looked at him coldly. According to the rules of the game, you should not continue to stay in the Olympic arena. No, no way. My sister collapsed and yelled, I've never touched a stimulant. How can there be a stimulant content in my blood? Yes, the mother also hurriedly stepped forward. Did you take the wrong test result? How to say that those who take stimulants should be Shasiyu, this little cheap hoof. Our Pearl is magnanimous. Enough, the coach yelled. How long will you have to deceive yourself again? Have you ever taken stimulants and don't have any points in your heart? I didn't, my sister yelled. The coach sneered. Yes, you don't. Maybe your parents are afraid that you won't be able to beat the stimulant that Xiaoyu gave you. Anyway, our Xiaoyu is innocent. Mr. Sure, you are also ready to accept our lawyer's letter. Impossible. My father stared at me. Is it you? Did you already know something? I shrugged helplessly. What should I know? Do you know that you are bent on harming me into making your little daughter win? My father opened his mouth after listening to my words, but never said anything. Yes, what can he say? What am I looking forward to? It's all you. You caused me to do it. My sister seemed to hear a few words and looked at her father with red eyes. Only you have stimulants in your hands. You must have harmed me. No wonder I feel unwell. It turns out that you did everything. My sister stared at him. I said, as long as Shasiyu's racket is broken, I will definitely be able to beat her. What the hell are you doing? Why do you want to harm me? The father's original guilty look changed after hearing his sister shake out everything about him, and he yelled without explaining anything. Isn't it all for you? Who made you not as good as Shasiyu since you were a child? As long as you are on par with her, can I do such a thing? That's 50 million, my father said madly. Who made you unworthy? After hearing this, my sister couldn't hold back anymore and rushed forward and slapped her father. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. Not to be outdone, her father scuffled with her. I looked at her and took 2 steps back unconsciously. The pain of being killed by her in my previous life was like what I experienced yesterday. What's more, her mental condition now looks particularly crazy. Sister, why haven't you been pulled down even though I have used all kinds of means? Why don't you come down to accompany me? She looked at me with red eyes. Why have you been so good since you were a child? Why have I never been as good as you? Mingzhu, calm down. I looked at her and said, you still have a lot. You still have parents who love you. I looked at her vigilantly, slowly moving back, and before I could make the next move, she pounced on me, slammed the door shut. Don't talk about them. They only love money. How can you calm me down? How can you calm me down? She grabbed my neck and didn't let go no matter how hard I struggled. My life is over. Then you come to accompany me. Sister, let's be reincarnated together in the next life. Then you will be my sister. Then you are not as good as me for the rest of your life. Ha 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 ha. I held the cup on the table with trembling hands and slammed it on her head. Blood flowed down my face and even seeped into my nasal cavity. But she didn't let go. My eyes began to blur, and I couldn't tell if it was real or illusory. The despair of suffocation in my previous life reappeared, and I still couldn't avoid my fate. So be it, I think. That's it. At least I died clean in this life. Bang. A loud bang reached my ears, and countless people began to call my name, and the flash pierced my sister and my eyes. Get away. I heard the coach yelling to pull my sister away, and shouted desperately, call the medical staff. Hurry up. I took a big breath of fresh air and didn't even have time to wipe the blood off my face. I watched my sister lying on the ground as if she had lost her soul, and was forcibly taken away by the security guards like a walking corpse. It's okay, it's okay. The coach kept saying in my ear, don't be afraid, it's okay. It wasn't until the medical staff told the coach 5 times that I was fine that he felt relieved. What's wrong with you? You know she has bad intentions towards you. Why do you let her in? What if I come back a little later? The coach yelled at me. Xiaoyu. Only you know how difficult it is to come this way. If you fold here, how can I explain to your grandfather? Okay, aren't I okay? I smiled and picked up the racket and said, let's go train first. I have a game tomorrow. The coach looked at me with a dark face. Shasiyu, your body is not what makes you so bad. Don't pass tomorrow's game. We don't lack your medal. I was silent for a long time and said, but how can you make me willing? We looked at each other in silence, and none of us were willing to give in. It's up to you. In the end, he was defeated, waved at me and was about to leave. He pretended to be nothing, but when I turned around, I saw a tear in the corner of his eye. I still passed the semifinals and successfully reached the final with an absolute advantage of 4-0. After the last ball, the coach ran up and hugged me tightly. Good, Light Rain, you are so good. The coach on the stage was genuinely happy for me, but my parents in the audience stared at me. Your sister is still young. Can't you let her? You're not dead anyway, the mother splashed. Why are you so small and unwilling to forgive her? Shasiyu, you must issue a letter of understanding to your sister. You must forgive your sister. My father also helped, as if he had forgotten a series of conflicts with his sister before. Are you sick? They wanted to say something more, but were interrupted by the coach. There must be a limit to eccentricity, right? What your family lost was only a career, but we Xiaoyu almost lost our lives. The coach wanted to say something else. But I stopped him, and I looked at my parents who looked like they were 10 years older in front of me and asked, what about me? Am I not your biological daughter? They opened their mouths, but never spoke. I looked at their appearance, and the last trace of attachment to my parents in my heart completely disappeared. Let's go, coach. There's nothing more to say. I walked out the door facing the light and handed over the surveillance video of my parents doping in the cup. After that, I was truly alone. During the time when my parents were taken away to ask, I also came to my own final. My deeds were hyped by the media, and the twists and turns and my pain were exposed to the sun. Some media even said that I was born a table tennis holy body. I have become beautiful and miserable in the eyes of everyone. Before the final, the coach showed me a live discussion about the match. Everyone said that no matter whether I can win this game or not, I am immortal in their hearts. The coach advised me to calm down and not be too sad whether I win or lose. But how can you calm down? The record of winning 100 battles is never easy to obtain, and every victory is guarded by the predecessors with blood and tears. How can I be willing to lose this game because of some small things? Since I have come this far, I will not give up easily. There was never any table tennis sacrament. Just me training day after day. He is blood, sweat, tears, but it shouldn't be a light and fluttering talent. With the inflected voice of the commentary, I walked into the arena. I looked at the person on the other end of the table and held the racket tightly. As the game began, small balls came out of my hands. 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. In the end, I played extraordinarily and won the game with an absolute advantage of 4-0. When the white ball bounced to the ground, the audience cheered, and they took the trouble to call my name. I stood on the podium and watched the national flag rise behind me and the national anthem sounded in my ears. The depression that has not been favored for more than 10 years is opened at this moment. I don't think I'll ever be stuck in petty love again. The applause lifted me, and the flowers flooded me. I was born to fight for my country.